Well, good morning, ladies and gents. As Ishy Boots would say, welcome to the channel. Well, welcome to my channel anyway. Now, which will we take out today? 2 wheels or 3? Well, seeing as how the Himalayan started up and running, we'll go on my trusty Himalayan. It's a beautiful little bike and it suits me down to the ground. It does everything I want it to do. So we've got some essential supplies to get, which is my excuse for getting out today, and we're off. Now the wee village I live in is on the rim of the Manifold Valley, which is a beautiful limestone valley within Staffordshire but very close to Derbyshire. We've got 2 rivers running through the dales here, the Manifold, which is our valley, and the River Dove, which is a mile or so beyond, which is the Derbyshire border with Staffordshire. So we're across to Hartington, just over the Dove, to the doctor's surgery to pick up some much needed medication. During this lockdown times, I've volunteered my services as a prescription delivery service, voluntarily of course. I just hope the main camera is pointing in the right direction. It's all a bit of guesswork really. It's not such a bad day today. Not so much sunshine as yesterday, but it's pleasant enough. Now the first place we come into is a tiny village. It's the village of Himalayan, and Himalayan is on the River Manifold itself. And Himalayan was quite an important place at one time, in that it was the terminus for the Leek and Manifold Light Railway. It was a narrow gauge railway that ran from Waterhouses on the Leek to Ashbourne Road up through the valley here to Himalayan. And all that's left of it now is the old station building, which is now toilets and an information centre come visitor centre. The T-junction tea rooms, that's a development of the engine shed, but as you can see, that's the old state. You can tell it's a station building, can't you? And that was the end of the Manifold Valley Railway. This end, anyway. And it ran from 1904 to 1934, just 30 years. It's never been written down, but up until just before 1900, there are a lot of minerals mined in this valley. Copper, very rich copper mines on the one side of the valley, and on the other side it was lead. But that was probably the main idea behind installation of the railway. But when it was built, by the time it was finished, the mining operations had shut down permanently, and it became used for milk transport, milk, butter and cream. And there's the Manifold Inn. Normally very popular during the summer months, but as you can guess, over the last 12 months it's not been quite so busy due to the dreaded COVID. So it's just a short distance now across the border and over to Hartington. Beautiful countryside, typical limestone countryside. We're at the southern end of the Peak District effectively, and we live on the border between the Dark Peak and the White Peak. The White Peak geologically is the limestone countryside, and the Dark Peak is the gritstone countryside. And one side of our village is indeed the White Peak, and the other side, the western side if you like, is the Dark Peak. Subtle differences: open moorland in the Dark Peak and quite deep limestone valleys in the White Peak. So that's the Julia, very small, a very young if you like, River Dove that we just crossed. And over to the right you can probably see the treed, the wooded valley. That's the start of Beresford Dale, which leads into Woolscott Dale, which in turn leads to Milldale, a very short dale of Milldale, and then the valley that most people know is Dovedale. Very spectacular limestone scenery in Dovedale. We can't get down there with the bike. It's a very well used footpath. Now this is Hartington, beautiful little village of Hartington, but during the summer months, normally during the summer months, it does get incredibly busy. Now the doctor's surgery is here in Hartington, so we're going to go across to the surgery, past the duck pond. How many ducks have we got today? 2. Oh, 3, 4. Oh, that's good. There weren't any yesterday. Lovely little village, Hartington. Justifiably popular with visitors. And here's our little surgery. I'll just go and pick up. I think there's only one prescription for me to pick up today. We'll soon find out. Just bear with me. Like I said, it's a great little bike. I've made my own changes to it. Made it my own if you like. But it's just it's a 2020 Himalayan. Now we'll take the long way back. And we'll have a run through the valley itself. Through the Manifold Valley, that is, of course. Little bits of evidence of the railway, where it used to run. And also little bits of evidence of the mining industry. Like I said, it was lead mine on one side and copper mines on the other. I did switch my indicator off eventually. Hooray! And there's the Manifold Inn again. Used to be called the Manifold, the Light Railway Inn, but as with so many pubs it had to have its name changed for whatever reason. Now this is the road that would take us to Alstonfield normally. But we're going to turn off and drop down into the valley bottom. It could be a bit gravelly and muddy down here from time to time. It's only a very narrow side road. I served 16 years as a policeman, as the village policeman if you like, in this area. So many of these little villages to look after. And then in 1997 I took early retirement and started driving a school bus. Yes, full-size school bus through these tiny little lanes. Interesting at times. Now here's a little bit of evidence of the mining. On the left hand side there's an entrance to one of the many copper mines within Ecton Hill. Ecton Hill is the hill to our left. Quite an innocuous looking hill from outside, but inside I often liken it to an aero bar. It's full of holes, mainly through the copper mining. Now you can see the track, you can see the people walking the track on the far side. Now that's the bedway of the old narrow gauge railway, and it was a narrow gauge railway, and it ran from Hume End, where we've just been, down to Waterhouses on the main Leek to Ashbourne road, where it joined the standard gauge railway line. Now in a very short distance we're going to drive along the old bedway. Most of it is a footpath come cycleway, come horse riding track, and for much of its length the road runs alongside it. There was a big and active creamery here, one or two remnants of buildings that, and platforms for that matter, loading bays, and that's where the creamery was, just on the right there. And that the goods from there were taken away by the narrow gauge railway. Little bits of quarrying activity as well. All the time for the moment. Crossing the trees on the right, that's where the old railway line used to run. And now we're coming to a little area known as Swainsley, and this is where we join the railway line. Across to the left there, that's the original road through the valley. It's still a public road, it's just that it's gated and it's a bit muddy and gravelly, and it's not very popular with traffic, with motorists. Now that lane, if we carried on, would take us up to the village of Butterton, but we're going to turn off here, and this is where we join the old railway line at Swainsley Tunnel, an old railway tunnel, just one-way traffic. Now you can see the lights in the roof, those are relatively recent, and you can imagine that walking through there with no lights was an interesting experience. I've spent a little bit of my life as a caver and potholer. Most of my life has been as a climber, but these caves down here are just a little bit fraught with danger. On the left there, people might recognise Wetton Mill Tea Room, and again, not so many years ago, the fields on both sides of this road, or the track as it is, were very popular campsites, but the Peak Park in their wisdom decided to close them down. because they were never really official campsites. Just crossing the river. Now you can see the road is on the other side of us now, and it's coming back together. If we were to stay on this track, which we can't, but if we were to, just a short distance down in front of us is a feature called Thor's Cave. Spectacular cave opening, and we're just going to go up the hill just for a short distance so we can have a look across, and you can see just how spectacular the entrance to Thor's Cave really is. These are the perfect roads. There you can see Thor's Cave. I think somebody's on the footpath just below the entrance across there, over on the right. I was about to say these roads are ideal for this little bike. Advertised by Royal Enfield as made for all roads, made for no roads. In other words, it'll go anywhere, and it more or less will. And we're going to turn round here and go back down into the valley, and I'll pause where we got a decent view of Thor's Cave itself, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. You can see across there to the left. Trying to find a break in the undergrowth, but you can see through the trees. It's a massive gaping hole in the rock. It's not a true cave, it's what's known as a solution pocket geologically. There was a pocket of minerals or boulder clay or something like that in there as it emerged, because the limestone was the seabed at one time, as we know. True caves are being cut away and created by corrosion, by water, but that is, spectacular as it is indeed a solution pocket. So we're dropped down back into the valley. We're on the old road at the minute. Over to the right of us is the part of the track that we came along a little earlier, but retracing our steps a little bit further away, just a matter of feet away. Back to Wetton Mill. Now we're not going to carry on along the valley. I'm going to take you back a slightly different way. Up another lane that would lead us to the village of Butterton. I do like the narrow lanes. They suit me down to the ground. After getting my coach licence and doing a few short years with a local operator, driving the school bus, I eventually got a real job, and I ended up driving coach tours in the north of Scotland, northwest Scotland mainly. And the one sign I really used to look forward to seeing was single track road with passing places. Always got a lot of time for the single tracks, and as you can see, we've got plenty of them in this neck of the woods. You can see the spire of the church here at Butterton now. There are one or two places where you can sit on the rim of the valley in different places and count the church spires. At Butterton, Wetton, where we're just making our way up towards, Grindon. Now here on the right, this is where I first came at the start of my coach driving career. This was the guy that got me through my licence. I spent 4 years working for Wints, as the company's called, before moving on to pastures further afield. This takes us into Butterton itself, another mighty fine little village. Black Lion, closed as the rest of them are at the moment. Thank you. And you can tell what the main industry is around here these days. Farming, of course. Although, a little bit earlier on the way across the doctor's surgery, we were very close to one of our other industries, which is worldwide. Well, it's known worldwide. If ever you see an orange cement mixer on a building site or in somebody's garden, you can guarantee that it will have come from the Bell engineering company. And this is where the main factory is, just towards Hartington. I think we'll dispense of the cattle trailer. Now over to the right, on the skyline, that's Ecton Hill. That's the hill that's full of copper mines, or the copper mine remains. I've explored so much of those relics, those old passageways and shafts in the past. Home sweet home. The little village of Worslow. It'll be 40 years next month since we came here, and we're just about being accepted as locals, I think. And here we are back to base. The man cave.